what happens at a Tantra retreat for women. So I'm a Tao Tantric Arts teacher, and when we dive into a temple space that is just dedicated for women, practicing the Taoist sexual arts and Tantra, we really experience something so unique and exquisite. So when we as women receive such a safe space to really dive into the topics of empowerment, sexuality, and to take up the space to really be seen in our power, to be seen in our beauty, in our sensuality, and to release all the conditioning that we received from our culture, magic happens. And I feel so blessed to be initiated in this beautiful path and to share this with women, because I've seen it over and over again that when we dedicate time and space to this and to be initiated into Tantra, that women completely change the way they feel, the way they see themselves, their confidence, the way they dive into creativity, the way they approach relationships and other men, and it is so, so, so beautiful. So what exactly happens at a Tantra retreat for women is that we dive into sisterhood and we really cultivate such a space that is so safe and nourishing for you. And for most women, it's the safest space they ever felt being around women. And then there's different practices such as Qigong. And Qigong is really grounding us in the body. So we really make sure that we're fully present, that we fully bring consciousness into our body so that we can move, all things up, so we can move our energy, and we make sure that there is a lot of grounding, that there's safety within our body. We also learn how to cultivate safety within our body, how to bring consciousness into the present moment to any emotions that arise, and to create a new way of relating to our bodies. And then we dive into practices such as breathwork, where we open our channels. Taoist sexual practices means we learn how to move our microcosmic orbit, which is an orbit, a channel, that once we open it, it helps us to cultivate our self-healing powers. And not just that, but it's also the Taoist way and the channel for us to become multi-orgasmic. So just as nature, as things in nature and the cycles move circular, we also have this beautiful channel in us that is orbiting around. And once it's open, we feel much more alive, we feel more creativity, we feel much more Shakti energy. So we learn how to move our sexual energy in a safe and creative way. Usually most people use their sexual energy and they let it just disperse in the lower chakras. So in the Taoist and the Tantric arts, we learn to really use the full potential of our sexual energy. And it doesn't mean or need to be in having sex, right? We're just learning to connect with our sexual energy, which is our strongest life force and also most potent creative energy. And we learn to move it in our bodies in beautiful ways so we can reach higher states of consciousness. And not just that, because once we activate Shakti, she's the most creative life force. She is, if you feel into a wild jungle, and you feel a buzzing in the air of just this primal life force, that is Shakti. If you feel like being super alive and orgasmic, that is Shakti moving through you. If you feel like you're very creative and you're working on a project and it's just bursting out of you, that is Shakti moving through you. So we really learn to develop that connection, that sensation, that feeling towards Shakti, and then also how we can move that energy, and not just move the energy, also how we can at the same time cultivate presence, consciousness to witness that energy. So this is the dance of Shiva and Shakti, of that sacred union that we can cultivate within us, where you bring pure presence, pure Shiva consciousness to the Shakti that you learn to move, and while she learns how to dance. And this is such a beautiful way to create a fulfilling relationship towards yourself. And we're using Qigong, breath, sounding as well, because we are opening our inner channel through sounding. So a lot of women have, issues speaking their truth or being authentic or connecting to their womb and yoni, and the throat and the yoni is directly connected. So we're clearing our channels. And in that perspective, we see Kundalini moving, and our channels can be blocked when there's emotional stagnation. So what we want to achieve is, as women, emotional fluidity. Like imagining we have an inner flute here, and that flute can just flow natural. So when we hold onto things, or when we store negative emotions in the body, it's basically blocking the organs and blocking the channels for us to fully feel life. And we will dive into many practices, for example, the 6 healing sounds of traditional Chinese medicine that purify the organs and purify the emotions. And then not just that, but in Taoism, we clear the channels and then we fill our organs, our channels, with beautiful, positive deeds and qualities, and we reprogram our systems towards beauty and smile and positivity. Like, for example, through the inner smile meditation, where we really give a smile to each part and cells of our bodies. And imagine like we're awakening our inner web and all the little strings that were maybe not attached, or if there was trauma in the body that made us scattered and unpresent and emotions all over the place. We're basically weaving our own organism back together. And you couldn't do that in a more better place than in really deep, well-held, nourishing sisterhood. Because imagine that helps our organism to connect with the outer organism, and especially when we are in nature doing this, we just merge back into the greater oneness of the earth, of the cosmos, and we experience ourselves eventually like being just that beauty, that beautiful in-between of earth and heaven. And what happens then? We release the feeling of separation and we merge back into belonging, into being all one with all there is. So a tantric retreat for women is the biggest gift that you can give yourself, because you're rewiring the conditioning that you got about sexuality, and you're learning that sexuality and the sexual energy is a gift, and you're learning to move it in a way that will bring you right onto your life purpose, will bring the most creative energy out of you and give you confidence. You will learn what it means to truly open your heart. And when you open your heart, you also open your yoni. That means you will learn what you really need in your life, in your relationships, and you'll be empowered in speaking out in conscious communication about your desires, about your boundaries. Because when we open our femininity and it just comes out and flows in all of its beauty and magnificence, we also need to learn how to protect it in a very graceful way, how to set boundaries, how to protect our energy space. And a women's retreat that is all about Tantra will also empower you to be in your masculine, but in a healthy way, right? So it's really finding that inner dance and rewriting the story of sexuality in a way that your pleasure and your sexuality can be innocent. It can be the most beautiful source and fountain of your creativity and of bliss and pleasure in life. And it's the most life-changing thing you can do to join a women's Tantra retreat. And there is so much alchemy that happens, how we learn to deal with our emotions, how we learn to deal with pain and transform it into pleasure. Because on the other side of pain is always pleasure. So I really wish every woman in the world to experience this. And that's why I'm so enthusiastic about it. And with our collective, Airakura collective, we have an upcoming Women's Tantra retreat in Portugal, end of May this year. So if you want to know more, reach out. I will be the main teacher and I have a beautiful team guiding it with me. And I highly encourage you to take this opportunity and gift yourself, rewrite the story of your life, of your purpose, of the woman that you are, and allow yourself to shine bright and be empowered by sisters along the way.